Okay, hey, what's up? So, I already edited the review, but I completely forgot that I was supposed to mention this. So now, instead of my original intro, this is going to be my intro. First of all, if you've seen A Quiet Place Part 1, and if you've seen A Quiet Place Part 2, does anybody see the resemblance between the music used in this movie and Minecraft? I'm not talking about the whole soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack was great in the movie, in part 2. I don't really remember the part 1, but I'm pretty sure they're very similar. The music that I'm talking about is the one that they specifically use when characters are traveling from place to place. It's a lot of walking in foresty locations or on train tracks. When they're walking, there's this like calm piano music playing. Did anybody else get Minecraft vibes? Please tell me you guys got Minecraft vibes from that music. Because me and one of my friends that was sitting next to me, he also got Minecraft vibes. My other 3 friends that came with me, they looked at us and were like, "Are you guys crazy?" And then we showed them, and then they were like, "Okay, we see what you're saying." So here I'm going to put the quick examples. Here's the Minecraft music. Okay, so that was the Minecraft music, and somebody turned on the air conditioner in my basement. That's not great, but here's the music that I'm referring to from the Quiet Place movies. Come on, you can't tell me that doesn't sound somewhat similar. Because whenever I heard that music come up in the movie, all I could think about was Minecraft. And it was funny because it was just people walking, exploring the world, which is what you do in Minecraft. So, the resemblance is there. Please don't tell me I'm crazy. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. And today, for the first time in a very long time, we're doing a movie review. Today's movie review is for A Quiet Place Part 2. Before we get started, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. We're at 300 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. And you know, we're almost at 320, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I saw Quiet Place Part 2 in theaters. This is the first big movie that's opening as all the theaters around the country are opening up. And it's only fitting that this is the movie that's bringing back all the movie experience that we're going to. Because back in March of last year, this movie was like 2 weeks away from being released, and then the whole country shut down, all the movie theaters closed. So this movie was just about to come out, and then just pandemic. This is going to be a non-spoiler review because I don't know how many of you have seen the movie. I don't know when you guys are going to go see the movie. I don't think it's available on demand at home yet. The only place you can see it is at the movies. Don't know how many of you are going to go. So this is a non-spoiler review for A Quiet Place Part 2. So as we all remember, at the end of Part 1, John Krasinski's character ended up sacrificing himself to save his kids, and he got yeeted by the monster. Yeah, boy! He's now dead. And basically, at the end of the movie, they found out that the little earpiece makes this noise that the monsters don't like, and the monsters open up a weak spot, and if you shoot them, they're dead. But now, since John Krasinski's character is dead, Emily Blunt has to take her kids, and they basically have to go find some help. They need help. Emily Blunt is on her own. She has to take care of 3 kids. They need help, so they need to venture out into the world to see if there's anybody out there who can help them survive, and they can all group together. And the thing that I love about the Quiet Place series is, first of all, the entire premise of the fact that you have to stay completely silent in this world or you are going to die. The amount of noise you make will determine if you live or die. And they play that concept so well throughout the movie and in this horror genre to build great suspense. Part 2 has so many just scenes that are filled with tension and suspense when you are sitting at the edge of your seat. And they really play into their whole concept of that the smallest amount of noise can cause you your life. So when you're watching characters try to get from one room to another room and they're trying not to knock a single thing over and they're moving extremely slowly, all of that just builds tension. You were just hoping, oh my god, please don't knock a pencil over or you are dead. So this movie, just like the first movie and probably even more, is filled with suspense and it is intense as fuck. John Krasinski, who has now written the second part, he shared writing credits in the first movie, but he wrote this one and he's back to direct. and he really truly understands this concept, and he knows how to play into it. John Krasinski's filmmaking improves a lot in this movie. In the first movie was great, and he did a great job. That was his directorial debut. He did a fantastic job with that movie. But again, that movie was kind of contained to the house, and we were kind of contained in one location. We ventured out a little bit, but it was mainly about the farm. But now the characters have ventured out, and there's a lot of action in this movie. I think that's why I like this movie over the first movie, and I think that's why a lot of people have been saying that Quiet Place Part 2 is a superior sequel to A Quiet Place Part 1. And first of all, the duo of them, if you ever want to have like a movie night marathon of horror movies, Quiet Place Part 1, Quiet Place Part 2. Great duo right there. Put them on, enjoy them. But yeah, A Quiet Place Part 2 is basically how you're supposed to do sequels. Go bigger. You found your story from the first movie and people loved it. How can you improve? How can you do better? Well, let's go bigger on the action, but not too much. Let's not overwhelm people, but let's give them some action. And this movie is action-packed. There's a lot of great action with the monsters and people trying to run away for their lives and sometimes shooting some monsters. It's a great time all around. This isn't really a spoiler because this wasn't the first trailer. This movie does start off with day one, the day that all of this happened. And basically, out of all the sequences in the movie, I think that whole opening sequence is my favorite. It's intense as hell. It's action-packed. It is wonderful. It's great to see how this kind of all happened. Great way to start off with day one. Not giving us too much information, but giving us something there. And I really appreciate that. There's two scenes in the movie that I really appreciate. John Krasinski does this twice in the film, where the camera is inside a car as the characters are trying to drive away for their lives. And that was just done very well. A lot of great long takes. And I remember watching an interview of Emily Blunt talking about how they did that. They had like a stunt driver on top of the car, actually driving the car as she's in the car, just doing this or whatever. And the stunt driver just has to actually drive the car. The direction from John Krasinski in this movie, he has improved on the first one, and that's all we can really ask in the sequel. Acting from all the actors is fantastic once again. In this movie, we have the addition of Cillian Murphy. I'm a big fan of Cillian Murphy, and I thought he was great in the movie. I really like what they did with his character. He has like a little arc of his own. It's great to see. Emily Blunt is great. She's always great. But she's not in the movie as much as you may think she is. This movie is really centered around Millicent Simmons' character. She is fantastic. She was great in part 1, and she's great in part 2. She gets much more to do in part 2. One of my favorite things that they do with the sound design is that when it's focused on Millicent Simmons' character, because she's deaf, when we see it from her perspective, the whole sound is just gone. And there's a great part in this movie where a character's running at her, and they're panicking and something's happening behind them, and she's just kind of looking at them and thinking, what the hell are you panicking about? Because she can't hear what's going on behind her. And that just made me think, man, it's probably terrifying living in that world if you can't hear anything. And again, that's what they did so well with the first movie, and in the second movie they do a great job with sound design. And just everybody else in the cast did a great job. My only real critique about the film is that it kind of ended abruptly. Part of me, like, I'm fine with the ending, but I just wanted like a little bit more. This movie is very short. It's like an hour and 47 minutes. And I don't know if an hour and 47 minutes includes the credits. So it might even be shorter than that. The actual movie, the content of the film, might actually be shorter than an hour and 47 minutes. But yeah, the movie just kind of ended abruptly. Like, I'm fine with that because it kind of leaves some open doors and for you to think a little bit, and that's fine. But I felt like we could have used a little bit more there for to just drive home the conclusion. So yeah, the only negative is that the movie ended a bit abruptly. If you love A Quiet Place Part 1, you will love A Quiet Place Part 2. It's more action-packed, has a great ensemble of characters and actors, and yeah, it just explores the world more. It's intense as hell and does give you a few jump scares. If you're into anything of that nature, if you're into horror movies and you just want to go see a great horror film and be at the edge of your seat for a good 2 hours, go see A Quiet Place Part 2 because I think it is that good. I think it's better than the first movie, which is sometimes hard to do. It's hard for people to make the sequel better than the first movie. Sometimes the sequels have a sequelitis thing where they suffer and people go like, well, it wasn't as good as the first movie, but it was okay. In this case, A Quiet Place Part 2 is definitely better than A Quiet Place Part 1. And A Quiet Place Part 1 was very good. So yeah, go see A Quiet Place Part 2. And if I had to give A Quiet Place Part 2 a rating, I'm going to give it a solid A. What a great way to return to theaters. This was a great film. I really liked it. Yeah. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's review of A Quiet Place Part 2. Check out some of my other videos. I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you so much for 300 subscribers. And I'll see you guys in the next video.